All right, you guys know that the meat and potatoes of the channel here are the injuries. So let's talk about what injuries have Conor McGregor's weapons gathered in the years of wear and tear in all these amazing fight cards. The fight was Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor. It was in 145-pound weight class. Max Holloway was a surging 145-pound fighter. He was a little bit younger, and it was an amazing fight. It went all the 3 rounds. It was a decision. It went in favor of Conor McGregor. It was contested very heavily on the ground as well in some of the rounds. But he got one of the worst injuries an athlete could get, and it was a complete tear of his ACL, his anterior cruciate ligament. Of course, if we go over what the ACL ligament is, let's go over the knee. Let's pull up a picture of the knee right here. The knee's main ligaments are the anterior cruciate ligament, the posterior cruciate ligament, the lateral and the medial collateral ligament. So it forms a ligament cage around the knee, and it prevents the knee from displacing laterally and posteriorly and anteriorly. So it holds the knee in place pretty much. And the ACL got broken. Of course, this took Conor McGregor out of the fight game for a whole year. He had to rehab, but luckily Conor McGregor has a great volume of his quadriceps and hamstrings. Those are the supporting cast of the knee. When you have great volume in the anterior and posterior muscle components, muscle compartments of the thigh, of course that protects the knee. So it made his rehab easier, and he came back a year later, was victorious against Diego Brandao, and we all know the story after that. Unluckily for Conor, I believe it was the right leg, if I'm not mistaken. I was looking on the internet and I couldn't find a lot of information on this, but I think I remember it's the right leg. Coach, correct me if I'm wrong. All right, so going into UFC 189, he was supposed to fight Jose Aldo, but you know, last minute, Jose Aldo had a rib injury. Apparently, he had a rib fracture. Later, it was a rib bruise. It doesn't really matter. But there was an opponent change onto Chad Mendes. But after the fight, Conor won that fight, of course, is history. But we got word that he had torn that same ACL that he had repaired 80% of the way. So there's rumors also that he had stem cell treatments, PRP, which definitely at that moment were very hot in the MMA circles. You know, a lot of fighters were getting stem cell therapies. Of course, you guys know that Joe Rogan would speak nonstop about the wonders of stem cell therapy and PRP therapy. So there's a good chance that Conor received some PRP therapy and some stem cell therapy to help nurse that ligament back to health. So he was great. He showed great. He got taken down a lot in that fight, but his weapons persevered, and he won, of course, by TKO. We all know he TKO'd Chad Mendes. Chad Mendes, of course, had that fight in short notice, so maybe that had something to do as well. But it was a great fight. It's in the history books already. The final injury in Conor McGregor's weapons definitely has been his foot problems. We all know that Conor has a very kick heavy. It's not just that left hand piston. He has a front kick to the solar plexus that is very effective, and it's one of his favorite tools. When you use the tool over and over and over and over again, of course, that tool is going to receive stress, and in that case, it's the foot. He's had foot fractures out of that fight. He's had injuries out of the Chad Mendes fight, I believe. He had a very kick-heavy approach against Nate Diaz in UFC 202. Of course, he had a broken foot. We saw him in crutches after the fight. So the foot joint it's a very important foot joint. Of course, the tibia and fibula, the talus, and the ankle mortise make up this. You're seeing that right there. So it's a joint. You know, it's a keen of the wrist joint. It's similar to the wrist joint. It's a very complex joint, but it gets hurt very easily. Okay, there's the anterior talofibular ligament. Those are the ligaments of the ankle right there. They get hurt. So moving into this fight, maybe, you know, that will play a role. I don't think so. I think that with the Performance Institute in place right now, all the resources these guys bring to the table, I think the UFC has focused hugely on the health of Cowboy and Conor McGregor moving into this fight, and they're gonna put all the resources, all the physicians, all the therapists are definitely at the disposal of these guys. So I believe we're gonna see full healthy Conor McGregor and a full healthy Cowboy. Of course, we're gonna publish the Cowboy a breakdown video of his biometrics and his injuries as well in the coming days. So you guys stay tuned for that. It's gonna be amazing. So there you have it. You know the biometrics of the Mystic one. You know what injuries have been suffered by these weapons and by his weapons. Couldn't be more excited. Thank you for your support. Most definitely, I want you guys to check out my channel in Rockfin. There is where I publish my audio only podcast. So if you like podcasts, long form podcasts with audio, you definitely have to check it out. I expand on fight talk and breakdown there in the audio. So I would love to have your support over there. That's a very creator friendly platform. The minds behind it is Martino Floriani, of course, the creator of Flow Wrestling, one of the original creators of Flow Wrestling, has created Rockfin, and I'm excited to be a verified creator over there. Thank you guys. UFC 246. A lot of videos coming up. Thank you for your support, guys. Check you out later.